Good afternoon. This is week 2 of Social Work 633, Social Work Practice with Families at Widener University Center for Social Work Education. So from the first page of the course, if you go down to week 2, you will see that this week is on structural family therapy. Under our learning resources, the objectives for this week are as follows: to provide definitions of some key concepts in structural family therapy, to describe typical interventions used in this approach and identify when they are used in the video of a structural family therapy session, and to describe the major goals of a first session with the family and practice the skills required for conducting a helpful first session. The required readings from the text: first, Working with Families of the Poor, Chapter 3, and then Family Therapy Concepts and Methods, Chapter 6 on Structural Family Therapy. In addition to the 2 chapters from the text, there is a required article called A Beginner's Guide to the Problem-Oriented First Family Interview, which you will need for one of your assignments. Also, you were to choose one of the following articles to read. I would suggest, while you could read all of them, that you might want to take a look at this one by Dr. Aponte, since you will be looking at a video conducted by Dr. Aponte and commenting on that video. In addition, you have the Mnuchin Center for the Family, and as I referred to above, you are to look at this video called A House Divided: Structural Therapy with a Black Family by Dr. Harry Aponte. You have 2 discussions this week. The first is the Aponte video analysis, and you are going to do an initial post that answers all of the following. Looking at the Mnuchin et al. And the Nichols readings from the text, identify 2 different structural interventions used in the video of a family session with Aponte. What is your assessment of this family structure, including the assessment of boundaries? Did you see Aponte follow the outline of a first family session as described in the Weber article? And then what did he do that you could see yourself doing in a first session with a family? After that initial post, which is due on Thursday, you were to respond to at least one of your classmates, and that response is due between Friday and Sunday. Your next discussion is an initial family therapy session role play. So this is where you get a chance to videotape yourself. So again, first, look at this case example of called a family case example for a first session role play. Then using Screencast-O-Matic, and again, I can't stress enough to use this source because then that guarantees that I can access your video. Record a video approximately 5 to 10 minutes of yourself demonstrating what you might say in 3 different segments of a first session with a family. So the first segment, how would you begin the first meeting in terms of laying out the goals and structure and starting to join with the family and gain their trust? Joining is a concept in terms of structural family therapy. The second segment, what might you say to interrupt any bickering or blaming that the parents may start to do with each other? And then third, how might you end the session, including any homework that you might suggest to help members of this family meet the goals? You want to watch this video that you will have access to in terms of how to utilize Screencast-O-Matic and then to upload that video. After that, this is due by Thursday, then you are to respond to one of your classmates between Friday and Sunday of this week. There are 2 additional written assignments. The first is to add to your family therapy theory grid. This time you're answering the questions on structural family therapy. And then to complete a reflection paper that is due by Sunday. And you can find the directions for that paper in the Getting Started section. Make sure that you refer back to this article, which was assigned in week 1. That's called Dysfunction in the Family of Origin of MSW and Other Graduate Students. So this is the basis of your reflection. First, you're doing a summary of the major points in that article in your own words. Second, your reaction to the key points. And then third, your reflection on any implications that you see for social work education. Make sure that you pay attention to the 2 to 3 pages of content. This does not include your title page. It does not include your reference page. This is of content. And also make sure that you use proper citation, APA citation. So if you use direct quotes, make sure they are in quotations and the citation is there, including the page number. If you note a reference in the body of your paper, make sure the citation is in the reference section, and vice versa. If you list something in the reference section, make sure it has been used in the body of the paper, and here is the rubric. Just to say a few words about structural family therapy. You will note in your readings that the founder is generally considered to be Salvador Minuchin, who was born in Argentina. His background is child psychiatry, and he is psychoanalytically trained. He spent a number of years in the city of Philadelphia, heading the Philadelphia Child Guidance Clinic, and then he retired in 1996. He started his own center in New York in 1981. There are some underlying assumptions in structural family therapy. One is that families are capable and competent to solve their own problems, that therapists work collaboratively with families, not as experts who can solve their problems, but as consultants and coaches who can work to bring the family's capabilities to the surface. Some of the principles are around power and hierarchy, as in terms of the structures that maintain a family's dysfunctional interaction, subsystems and boundaries, which can be clear or normal or weak or diffuse or rigid. Another principle is restructuring. That's based on observing and manipulating interactions within a session, structure, an organized pattern in which families interact. Additional concepts include subsystems, which are groups within the family, which could be based on age or generation, gender, or interest. So we have parenting subgroups, spousal subgroups, sibling subgroups, boundaries. Boundaries are invisible barriers that regulate contact between members. Again, they could be rigid or they can be diffuse. Diffuse often is termed as weak or a mesh. Rigid is too fortified or disengaged. Therapeutic goals. Therapy is directed at altering that family structure. And so structural problems are usually viewed often simply as a failure to adjust to changes, The therapist doesn't solve the problem. That is the family's job to do. And boundaries must be strengthened in enmeshed relationships and opened up in those that are rigid or disengaged. In terms of interventions, you will read the discussion is a lot about joining in a position of leadership. This is what the therapist does, and accommodating. Understanding that family is set up to resist you because you're the stranger in this family system. It's important to join with angry and powerful family members. It's important to build an alliance with every family member, and it's important to respect the existing hierarchy. Other therapeutic interventions are highlighting and modifying interactions, using restructuring, which includes the use of reframing to illuminate family structure, helping to set up boundaries, and challenging unproductive assumptions, which you also saw in communication theory with Virginia Satir. And homework is a part of working with families. Homework should be to increase contact between disengaged parties, to reinforce boundaries. And Mnuchin, in his work, help families to understand that there might be setbacks in order to prepare them for realistic futures. So if you have questions about structural family therapy or the assignments for this week, please let me know via email. You can also email me at my Gmail account, which is norma.thomas13@gmail.com. So either way, I will answer your questions as quickly as possible. I look forward to reading your papers for this week, and have a good week.